Hey, queens and kings. Had a little issues there getting started here on this live. Apparently, it's not the same as we set up at the church. But anyway, so tonight, well, this afternoon, I want to do a little Bible study. It could be for men or it could be for women. It is about Queen Esther. So we're going to be queens. I don't have my crown. I forgot my crown, like I just always wear it anyway, but okay, whatever. So, yes, Esther is the 17th book of the Bible, and we had done a Bible study here at my house about it Thursday night, and it was really exciting, and it was fun, and it was good stuff. I really liked it, so I wanted to share it with you guys, so share it with some friends on YouTube so that you can learn too. So anyway, I first want to pray. Thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for every blessing that you give us each and every day. And thank you for letting us spend time on your word and learn and gain knowledge. And I thank you for this weather, and it's beautiful. And let me share this message with all my friends. Let this be a good message, and let me get it out the way I want to. Well, the way that it needs to be got out. In your name we pray, amen. Anyways, I'm a little back and forth. I'm kind of scatterbrained a lot all the time. Anyway, it's kind of weird looking at myself, like back at me, but here we go. So like I said, Esther is the 17th book of the Bible, and I will warn you before we really get into depth, I hope we don't have any distractions with the dog or anything like that, but here we go. So Esther is the 17th book of the Bible. It's the story of Vashti, King Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus. Yeah, you can pronounce it however you pronounce it. I'm going to say Ahasuerus. Sounds like a dinosaur. Raw. Anyway, it's the story of Vashti, King Ahasuerus, Mordecai, and Queen Esther. And I read in the study Bible that this whole story had took a place, like it was over a span of 12 years. So in some places you'll see where there were some time gaps and stuff. So, all right. And I normally use my King James Version, but today, for ease of access for understandability, I'm going to use this one. The English American Standard Bible. Okay. I've only used it a couple times. Anyway. All right, so I'm going to kind of like build up to it and like explain some stuff, and then we'll read here in a little while. So, chapter 1, it kind of introduces you to who Vashti is. Vashti was a very, very pretty woman. She was a queen. She was King Ahasuerus' queen. Back in that time, like kings, they kind of ruled the world, I guess what you say, but you do what the king did. You do what the king said to do, basically, is what it was like back then. So anyway, Vashti was a very pretty queen, and she was King Ahasuerus' queen, and some princes and the king was sitting around, and they were like, having a good time drinking wine and stuff, and you can have a good time without drinking wine, but anyway, that's what they did. So anyway, Ahasuerus had called upon Vashti and said, would you come and please enlighten us with your beauty, whether she may be dancing for them or just showing off for them. I don't want to think of her as a bad woman doing ungodly things, but I don't know. And my understanding of this is kind of very vague, so if I do say some stuff or miss some stuff that's not right, comment on there and let me know what your thoughts and thinkings are or whatever. So anyway, King Ahasuerus and the princes said, come to us. They were having a good time, come and dance and stuff. And that's verse 10. Well, it tells us in verse 12 that she refused. She said no. I don't know if maybe she was kind of done with him, like she probably had to do this all throughout her queeniancy. The whole time that she was a queen, she probably had to do this several times, and she probably didn't like it. I don't think I would. And like Thursday night we were talking about, it's kind of like, the guys were lusting after her, women don't need that kind of negative attention like that, so anyway, so chapter verse 12 tells us that she refused. She did not do what the king told her to do. And back then you couldn't refuse the king, and you could, like, I don't know if they would kill you for it, but it did not go well if you did not please the king. So reading on down, but that did show confidence in her, because she stood up to him and said no. She didn't do it. So, that's pretty cool. It showed her strength and her confidence. So we can learn from that. I got my windows down, so you might hear some cars driving by and stuff or whatever. So, and I don't know why the thing keeps moving, but anyway, moving right on along. So that upset the king. He got mad. And verse 19 tells us that, okay, I got a little confused with my notes there, but anyway, verse 19 tells us the king had got mad, and he would give someone that is better than she the title of queen. So he was going to take the queency away from Vashti and give it to somebody else that was better than her. Maybe she was a very good queen, she stood up to him. So I would say that she was a good queen by that point. And again, this is all I know about Vashti. So she may not have been a good queen, but anyway, she was done being his queen. All right, so that's what happened there. And then, so verses 21 through 22. Haman was one of the princes, and he was like trying to get as close to the king as he could, and be his little best friend, be like, what do you call him? His wingman. Haman was trying to be his wingman. So, Haman had presented King Ahasuerus the idea to make a decree, like set in law, set in stone, that all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both great and small. Like, he was trying to make it a law, make it a rule, make it, you've got to do what we say type thing by the men. So that was mean of him. It's a little dirtbag. You really find out that he is a dirtbag. And I only know this story about Haman and through what we're talking about. But at the end of it, yeah, he's a big dirtbag. But he gets his. All right, so anyway, moving along. The king liked that, It made him happy, and he felt that Haman was like his best wingman ever, and he favored Haman more. And, he was like, he was just very pleased. The king was very pleased. Okay, so moving on to chapter 2. Over some time, and see, remember I said it took, well, the study Bible said, I don't know, I wasn't there, but the study Bible said that it took place over 12 years. So over some time, King Vashti was, King Ahasuerus, my bad. King Ahasuerus had remembered what Vashti did. So I don't know, I don't know how long that was or whatever, but anyway, I guess he got out of his drunken stupor, and he was like, Vashti did not do what I said to do, and, he didn't like her anymore anyway. So he remembered what she did, and he called for fair young virgins. So verse 4 says, and whoever he would pick out of these fair young virgins would be made queen. So he's looking for him a new queen. I understand, I get it, or whatever. So anyway, so this leads into Mordecai. Mordecai was a Jew. I don't know, like all these people, I'm new at like telling stories and stuff, and like doing the parables and speaking stuff like this. So I don't know all the stories about all these people, but I'm going to learn. And when I learn, I share my knowledge of what I've learned. So don't hold it to me, but call me out if I'm wrong. So Mordecai was a Jew, and he raised his niece, Hadassah. It's funny because I had, you know how you can put on like, put your earphones in, and you can have like YouTube videos read the Bible to you, and they all have like that different voice or whatever, like that. I don't know. It's, Y'all know what kind of voice I'm talking about anyway. But he called her Hadassah. And I thought it was cute, so that's how I've been saying it. Anyway, Mordecai, a Jew, had raised his niece Hadassah, which was also known as Esther. So I'm not sure why. Maybe Hadassah was her Jewish name, but everybody called her Esther, or maybe it's first name, middle name. I don't know. Anyway, something like that, you know. So Mordecai raised Hadassah, Esther. Her mother and father had passed away, so she was kind of like a little orphan, and he took her in and he raised her, and he was a very good uncle to her. And of course, he raised her as the Jewish religion, you know, raised her as Jew. So um, Esther was fair and beautiful. And I like how it says in here, I've noticed this too. It was something else like in church today, or somewhere I was reading today. It was something about how like all these women that they talk about is fair or beautiful, or what did it say? Vashti, a very pretty queen, you know. Girl, we all queens is beautiful. Every female is beautiful. Even if everybody else don't think we are. We are. Just go ahead on and straighten your crown up. Anyway, we beautiful. Anyway, don't forget it either. Okay, so Mordecai raised Hadassah, Esther, and she was raised Jewish, and you know she was fair and beautiful. So Esther had went to the king. Then you know he called like all the fair young virgins in, and was going to do like a it's a TV show about like where I don't know the name of it. I don't watch it, but the man's picking his wife or whatever, you know, something like that, and he hands out roses and all that stuff, whatever. Anyway, it's kind of something like that, the way I look at it. Anyway, so she went to the king. It's verse 8. Verse 9 says, she had pleased him and obtained kindness of him. He speedily gave her things for purification, along with 7 maidens, his best 7 maidens he gave her from his house, the best place of the house of the woman. That's what he gave her. And this was like, you know, like, bam, hey, here I am, I'm Esther. And then he's like just giving her all this stuff, like, here you go, girl. Like, I like you. Yeah, here you go. Just spoiling her right off the rip. Which, I mean, it's good that, like, when we get throughout the story, it's good that he had found favor in her, and well, that he thought that she obtained kindness. It was good that he was kind to her. So anyways, so verse 10, she couldn't let anybody know that she was a Jew, because back in this time, the Jews would be killed for being a Jew, you know, like she had to hold that in. She couldn't let them know that how she was raised and stuff. I mean, it was not good, you know, so she had to fight and find the strength to put her personal beliefs and feelings down on the side a little bit. And it's sad because, you know, I feel that there's going to come a time that we all are going to have to stand up, you know, so stand up for our rights and stuff like that. So anyway, so that's verse 10. All right. So verses 11 through 16, it talks about how the women had went away for a year. So I don't know if in this year, maybe some of the like ladies' maids, I guess what I call them, the maid servants or whatever they were, I don't know if they are kind of training them on how to be a queen, or getting them fit for their royal gowns to wear out to nice dinners, or, you know, whatever they're doing. They're going away for a whole year, and then they went back. Actually, let me say this before that. So they had the whole time while they were gone away for the year, Mordecai was kind of like back and forth, like, don't tell your secret, you know, but I'm here to support you. You know, Mordecai was there obviously all the way throughout Hadassah, Queen Esther's life. And anyway, he was back and forth. So they went back to the king after the year, and at this time, Mordecai had sat in the king's gate. So make note of that. Mordecai sat in the king's gate this time. Before, he was just kind of like back and forth, you know, like on the outskirts. Well, this time he went into the king's gate. So he's like, I'm taking my girl right here. Like, I'm taking her. I'm bringing her to you. Like, you know, that's what he was doing. Anyway. So, verse number 17. It's so sweet. Obviously, we know this is going to happen. The king loved Esther. Like, he just absolutely adored her above all the other women. Obviously he would have, because it's Esther. So that brings us to chapter 3. And this is where my notes get a little, I got little sloppy notes right here. But anyway, whatever. I'm going to get them out there. So chapter 3 tells us, I don't remember how the man read this out to me to pronounce their names, but we're going to call him Big Than, Big T-Han, Bigthan, Big Than. We're going to call him Big Than. Okay, and then Teresh, Teresh, Tresh. Anyway, we're going to call him Big Than and Tresh. Okay, so Big Than and Tresh. Okay. They were the, what you call them? They stood beside the door and they're like, you may not enter. This is the king's gates. You cannot come in. Da da da. Like, they had their, right here, I got my sword. Got my sword here, like, no, you may not enter. I'll cut your head off. Anyway, I like my sword. Anyway, so they were there. Big Than and Teresh was there. And they were going to kill the king, Ahasuerus. I mean, I can't rightfully remember off the top of my head why they were going to kill him. But that's a good point. You can look up chapter 3 of Esther. You can look that up and learn about that. Anyway, so these two men were going to find out that they were going to kill the king. So Mordecai's like, this can't happen, like, we don't need to kill the king, blah, blah, blah. So Mordecai found out, and he told Esther that the men were going to kill the king. Well, guess what? Esther told the king, and then the men were hanging on a tree. Like, no more. They're gone. Bye-bye. Anyway, okay. So that's that. So, back up here in chapter 1, like verse 22, 21, 22, remember that Haman had presented the king the idea of making a decree? Well, Haman was like really good friends, with the king or whatever. Anyway, King Ahasuerus had promoted Haman. He had set him above all the other princes, put him high on a pedestal. Like, he was just, just great, like a wonderful person and all that. But he was highly deceived. Anyway. So all this was happening, and the men were there to kill him. They got hung and all this. Okay. So Haman got promoted. When all this was happening, all the servants and the princes and all the people were there. They all bowed to Haman. Except, guess who? You got 5 seconds. Okay, whatever. Everybody bowed to Haman except Mordecai. Obviously, duh, we know that, right? Why didn't Mordecai bow to him? Because he was a Jew. Yay. Okay, that was, yeah. Anyway, it's like I'm having this one conversation by myself, and I'm so excited and having so much fun, but it's great. I hope y'all are having as much fun with this as I am. I really think this could be made into a movie, a great play, Anyway, we're having fun, right, y'all? Hey, queens. Anyway, so everybody had bowed to Haman except Mordecai because he was a Jew. Well, Haman didn't like that. He wanted he wanted his glory, he wanted his honor. I wouldn't bow to him, no way. Even if I was Jewish or not. Which, I don't, yeah, I wouldn't bow. I'm not bowing to no man. But I was going to say something there, but I forgot what it was. Anyway. All right, so that made Haman really mad. Well, Haman was like, let's just kill all the Jews. Kill them all. Boys, girls, like women, men. children, grandmas, great uncles, let's kill them all. Well, Haman had told King Ahasuerus the Jews didn't abide by his laws, and if it pleased him, they could be destroyed. And he would pay 10,000 talents of silver to have it done. I don't know how much 10,000 talents are, but okay, let's bump it up to like today's world. So we're gonna pay $10 million to have all the Jews killed. Petty, just petty. Like, one, we don't need to be killing no Jews, and to do it for money, just petty. He's not a very good wingman. The king gave Haman a silver ring and wore and got tongue-tied. The king gave Haman a silver ring and told him and the people to do what they thought was good. So, like the silver ring. So, like I'm going to use mine here. So it has like my initials on it and stuff, whatever. So back then, like when they made like I don't know if you've ever watched Downton Abbey, I think it was on Downton Abbey. Anyway, like a lot of older movies and shows and stuff, like when they said, where's it at? Hold on. Here we go. When like you had an envelope and you put some wax on it and like you sealed it with your ring. You sealed it or with a stamper. Yeah, that's what he gave me. He did all that for a ring, whatever. Well, he did it for the fame, too. He thought he was big and bad. He was somebody. We've demoted him from wingman to the doorman. Anyway. So, I mean, he was going to pay 10,000 talents of silver to have it done. And the king was like, yeah, that's good. I like that, Haman. Do it, Do what you think is good. It ain't good, buddy. It ain't good. So the king wrote a decree. That's where I was at. He wrote it, signed it, sealed it, put it in there. Like, okay, even with these people, cannot deal with people's level of stupidity sometimes, The decree had to kill everybody, young and old, that great uncle, that grandma, that aunt, your brother, sister's cousin. I mean, kill them all. If they're Jewish, kill them. And it was sealed with the king's ring. Yeah, I can't deal. I hope y'all are understanding and everything is right. And yeah, we're going to move right on along to chapter 4. I know my personality is really shining out and showing in this video, but hey, it's fun. It's good stuff. Chapter 4. So let's kind of like just get to where we're at. So Vashti was the queen. She didn't do what the king wanted, so she was not queen no more. Then we got a new queen, Esther, that was raised by Mordecai as a Jew. And then we got Haman in the mix. Okay, so we got that far, okay? Because this is where it really, really gets into the stuff, to the story, to the meaning. So, chapter 4, Mordecai had went into the city and cried. He actually, first, before he did that, he put on sackcloth and ashes. So back in that time, like when you're mourning and stuff, you put on sackcloth and ashes. So he put them on, and he had went into the city with a loud, bitter cry. And he even went to the king's gates. I mean, he was like sad and upset and crying and mourning. And, obviously I would be too. Like, they're getting ready to kill all the Jews. They're getting ready to kill his people. Like, he had to do something. He had to, like, let them all know, So, Esther had sent him some clothes so he didn't wear the sackcloth and ashes and try to go to the king, but he refused them. He's sticking to his ground. He's sticking to his, sticking to whatever he needs to stick to. I don't know. Anyway. So the Jews started fasting and mourning, and they all sackcloth and ashes. And, if you put yourself in their position, their place, like, how scary, how eerie, how bitter everything must feel, it's sad. Like just to be killed because you're Jewish, just to be killed, just to be killed because you follow Christ. I mean, it's awful. And, taking a side note, that's coming. Like that is coming. Like, after the rapture of the church and stuff, that's gonna be again. Like that's gonna be a thing again, and you be headed. And I mean, we need to go on the rapture. We just need to go on the rapture is what y'all need to know. You need to get right if you ain't right, and just go in the rapture so you ain't got to face that. And yeah, it's got me in my feels right now for a minute. So anyways, chapter 4, verse 7 through 9. Mordecai had told, okay, so I forgot how this man pronounced this name. Hatach. 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 Mordecai told Hatach, which was one of the king's chamberlains, to tell Esther what was happening to him. And she had to go to the king for the people. Like, she had to stand up. She had to speak out. She had to, like, go up against the king for her people. Like, she's got to be strong and courageous and save her people. She was really put to, I mean, it was kind of a test or whatever for her, a test of her faith and stuff. And I would be scared, but yeah, we're going to do it. Got our sword. We're going to do it. All right. So, at that time, back in this king's time and all that time, whatever, you couldn't go, well, I mean, it's still like that today. You can't just walk up to President Biden's door at the White House and say, hey, can I come in and talk to you for a minute about my people? Anyway, back then, you could be killed for that. You could be beheaded. You can't just walk up to the king and say, hey, man, let's talk. So Esther reminded Mordecai of that. Like, I cannot do that. Like, what did she say? You can't just go to the king unannounced and you could be killed. But if you did, this is where this stuff comes. If you did go to the king unannounced and you wanted to talk to him, the only way you could come in is if he held up the golden scepter. I think I said that right. Scepter. Scepter. Anyway, this is our golden scepter. It's actually a orange slice. Anyway. So, Esther went to the king and he held out the golden scepter to her. And then she rubbed the scepter. I think I'm saying it right. I don't know. Anyway, she went to the king. And remember, she found kindness from the king. So all that lusting he did after that, before, whatever, he liked her. So he held out the golden scepter and she rubbed the golden scepter. I'm not really sure what it means to like rub the golden scepter or whatever, but they did it anyway. So, Mordecai had told her, think not of yourself, that, like, don't think about you. Think about your people. Think about your task at hand. Think about outside of what you need to know, like what you need to do. Like, think bigger, think deeper depths. So she went and he told her to hold this peace. Make this peace between the Jews and the king this time. Because if not, then, somebody else would have tried to. So anyway. Anyway, okay, so it says in here in my notes to read verses 13 through 17 in chapter 4, so let's do that. Then Mordecai told them to reply to Esther, do not imagine that you in the king's palace can escape any more than all the Jews. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this. She was already trained for that, y'all. She was trained for that royalty. He's like, go. You got to do it. This is what my big note was for that I got confused on. Anyway. So, Esther said to reply to Mordecai. This is good stuff too right here, y'all. Good stuff. Go assemble all the Jews who are found in Susa, 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 and fast for me. Look at that. A true queen told the Jews to go fast. That's what we need to be telling our queen friends. Fast. If you need something, if you're looking for something, if you want something, fast and pray. Good stuff. Fast for me, and do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maidens also will fast in the same way. So by that point in time, her maidens already know that she was a Jew. You know, Mordecai had told everybody he was Jewish, and they found out that she was Jew and all that stuff. And thus I will go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. I might have got a little bit ahead of myself there or whatever on my notes. But anyway, so she did go to the king. She rubbed the golden scepter. She wasn't scared. She went in there and she said, if I perish, I perish. I'm perishing for a good cause. I'm perishing for Jesus. Okay. Chapter 5. The title of this chapter is Esther Plans a Banquet. Good stuff. Because, you know, queens be cooking. They cook some good food. They probably have some fried chicken and everything. So, I'm going to go down to verse 3. It says, and the king said to her, what is troubling you, Queen Esther? And what is it your request? Even to half of the kingdom it will be given to you. So she went in there. She didn't get killed. He invited her. He let her in. And he asked her, what do you want? I will give you half of everything I got. Because she's queen. She gets half, right? And Esther said, if it please the king, may the king and Haman, come this day to the banquet that I have prepared for him. Ooh, girl. She probably gonna have some cheesecake and macaroni salad and everything. Then the king said, bring Haman quickly, that we may do as Esther desires. So she done walked up in there unannounced, uninvited, didn't get killed, rubbed the golden scepter. King's like, what do you want? I'll give you half of anything. What do you want? What do you want? And she's like, I just want you and you and Haman to come to a banquet. He said, come on, Haman, come on, let's go. He was all excited. Which, I mean, I don't know, you know, what I wonder what was going through his mind at that time, you know. So, anyway, this is getting really good stuff. So the king and Haman came to the banquet which Esther had prepared. They knew they better had. Verse 6, and as they drank their wine at the banquet, the king said to Esther, what is your petition, for it shall be granted to you? And what is your request? He asked her again. Even to half of the kingdom it shall be done. He done told her again, you can have half of everything. Like, girl, just what do you want? What do you want? So Esther said, I love Esther. Esther answered and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and do what I request, may the king and Haman come to the banquet which I shall prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king says. She done went up in there. It was like, come to a banquet. They went to the banquet. The king's all like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? She's like, come back tomorrow. I'll tell you tomorrow. So I don't know if she's like being a tease or what, but like she's kind of like got to get his interest. She's kind of got to like, she might be building that kind of trust where he kind of like maybe trusts her now a little bit or something. But she's drawing him in. It's like drawing him in, you know. So after that, Haman went out, glad and pleased of heart. But when the king saw Mordecai in the king's gate, and that he did not stand up or tremble before him, Haman was filled with anger against Mordecai. Of course. Haman's always getting mad. Haman's always in the way. So this time, Haman controlled himself. He went to his house, got a few friends and his wife. He built a gallows. He built like this noose. He built something to hang Mordecai on. Like, Haman was so mad, he was like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to hang him. Like, he went after that and did it, like right then. Bad, bad boy, bad boy. All right, so I'm going to skip down to verse 12. Haman also said, even Esther the queen let no one but me with the king to the banquet which she had prepared, and tomorrow also I am invited by her with the king. So he was telling his wife, like, she won't tell us what she wants, but it's just me and the king. Like, he was gloating about that. Yet all of this does not satisfy me every time I see Mordecai, the Jew, sitting at the king's gate. He was mad. He was mad at Mordecai. Then his wife, Zeresh, and all his friends said to him, have a gallows 50 cubits high made in the morning and ask the king to have Mordecai hanged on it. Then go joyfully with the king to the banquet. And the advice pleased Haman, so he had the gallows made. So he was going to hang Mordecai before the banquet. All right, so chapter 6. We're just going to read this whole chapter number 6. During that night, the king could not sleep, so he gave an order to bring the book of records, the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written what Mordecai had reported concerning Bigitha. Oh, I spelled that wrong earlier. It had an A on it. Anyway, Bigitha and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs, who were doorkeepers, that they had sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. Look at that. And the king said, what honor or dignity has been bestowed on Mordecai for this? The king's servants who attended him said, nothing has been done for him. Of course, because Haman's in the way. So the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace in order to speak to the king about hanging Mordecai. So the king's like, what good can we do for Mordecai? Haman's like, how can we kill him? Let's go plot this and kill him. Bet you, what is it? Somebody says you're talking to me, your nose itches or your ears burn or something like that. Bet you his was. Now Haman had just entered the outer court in the king's palace in order to speak for the king about hanging Mordecai on the gallows, which he had prepared for him. And the king's servant said to him, behold, Haman is standing in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman went in, and the king said to him, what is to be done for the man whom the king desires to honor? And Haman said to himself, get that point. Get that question right there. The king said to Haman, what should be done for the man the king desires honor? Haman said to himself, whom would the king desire honor more than me? Because he's already like the high prince. He's already got like his ring and all that stuff. Like, ooh, okay, what do I want? Is what he's thinking. And Haman said to the king, for the man whom the king desires to honor, let them bring a royal robe, which the king has worn, and the horse on which the king has ridden, and on whose head a royal crown has been placed. Now, he didn't want much. He wanted a robe, a crown, and the king's horse. Okay. And let the robe and the horse be handed over to one of the king's most noble princes, and let them array the man whom the king desires to honor, and lead him on horseback through the city square, and proclaim before him, this it shall be done in the man whom the king delights to honor. So he wanted to parade. He wanted to be like, gallop me around on your horse in my robe with your crown on all throughout the city and make me look pretty. Haman's in the way. All right, so just can't deal. The king said to Haman, take quickly the robes and the horse, and as you have said, and do so for Mordecai the Jew. Haman was like this tall. Now he's like, being not even this tall, like not this little bitty, like, boop, busted his bow. Who is sitting at the king's gate. Do not fall short in anything of all that you have said. Do everything that you said. All of it. Haman. So he took the robe and the horse and arrayed Mordecai and led him on horseback through the city square and proclaimed before him, "Thus it shall be done to the man whom the king desires to honor." Then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman hurried home, mourning with his head covered. Of course, got his tail tucked between his legs, go home. He shouldn't have been there in the first place. And Haman recounted to Zoresh's wife and all his friends everything that had happened to him, told them that what all happened and all about that, like just told it. Just told it. So then it was time for the banquet. Remember, Haman was going to hang Mordecai before the banquet. But now he has been given him everything that he had wished for. And he had to do what the king said. So now it's time for the banquet. So I'm going to kind of just like tie up the end of the banquet or whatever, what has happened. And you can read the rest of it for yourself. I got to skedaddle off to church tonight. But anyway, and I'm not rushing. I'm telling you the story. But so, Haman got put in his place right there. Well, he didn't really get put in his place right there. So he didn't get put in his place. He got to the level of where he needed to be. He got down here. So I just think it's just cute. Can y'all imagine this on TV? Like, could y'all imagine living in this world? Like living through this story? So chapter 7 tells us the king and Haman went back to the second banquet Esther had prepared for them. This is where Esther had pleaded for her people. So I am going to read this right here. "If I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me as my petition and my people as my request. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated by Haman." Dun, dun, dun. "Now, if we had only been sold as slaves, men and women, I would have remained silent, for the trouble would not have been," big word coming straight, yep, "with annoyance to the king." So the king asked Esther, "Who is he and where is he? Who would want to do this? Like, who wants to do this?" Y'all ready for this? I need like drum roll, please. He's like, "Who did this?" Esther said, "A foe and an enemy. This is wicked Haman." Then Haman became terrified before the king and queen. He trembled. Of course he should have. Look what he's done. Guess what? Guess what happens next? The king arose in his anger from drinking wine and went out into the palace garden. But Haman stayed to beg for his life from the Queen Esther, for he saw that harm had been determined against him by the king. So the king come back in, and Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was. Then the king says, "Will he even assault the queen with me in the house?" So Haman was like going to beat up Esther. Nuh-uh. No, he ain't. Nope. As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. They put a bag over his head. Then Harpadana, one of the eunuchs who were before the king, said, "Behold, indeed, the gallows standing at Haman's house, 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai." Da-da-da-da! Oh, so smart. "Who spoke good on the behalf of the king, and the king said, hang him on it." So remember, y'all, like Haman had made the gallows to hang Mordecai on. Now Haman's getting hanged. Of course he should be getting hanged. Esther's done walked up in there knowing she could be beheaded to get a petition set back to get save her people, save the Jews. It already even wrote out that they were going to be killed. And here she is. showing strength and courage and honor up in there. She's got her own royal scepter now. Excuse me. So, I mean, that's basically the story, like her people were saved and, excuse me again, her people were saved and she stood up for them. She took up for them and it worked and it was great. And us as queens need to stand up for our people. We need to stand up for our church. We need to stand up for our church houses. We need to stand up for our Christians. We need to stand up for our families. We need to raise up that standard for our nation to stop belittling Christians. Stop belittling God. It's like the whole Ashby revival thing. Like the news wanted to say, well, there's no ordained minister. There's no like big named singer person there. It ain't gotta be. It don't have to be. It could just be little old us. Anyway, so and then the story continues to go on to where Esther's like doing all some more Queen Yancy stuff, and guess what? Mordecai was made prime minister. Yeah. So I mean, don't y'all think that this could be like a great little movie, like Disney could catch this stuff up and probably make millions on it, but I don't know that they will. But anyway, it's a good story. It's a good thing for women and men too. Men, y'all need to learn how not to be like Haman and be like Mordecai and be a good king to your wife, to your queen. So don't like have to do it the second time around. Anyway. I'm rambling now, but that's kind of my little story, my little take of Esther. That's kind of what we went over, which we had a little bit more elaborated and added to that and stuff. And I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope y'all had fun. And it's just me, just my thoughts, my thinking. So get your Bible and read the whole story and take what you want out of it and learn from it. And I hope you liked it. I did. I think we should do it into a play or something at church, but it's good to learn from. It's good for women to learn how to stand up, how to be strong, and use your voice. Use your voice for God. So I hope y'all have a good night. I hope that y'all come back and join us again. I hope to get to church on time to add tonight's church Bible study on the live. And yeah, y'all have a good time. Let's pray first. Anyway, thank you, Lord, for everything that we have just learned. Thank you for letting the book of Esther be in the Bible and the story be there, and let us learn how to be strong, courageous queens and sweet, kind kings. Well, men to be sweet, kind kings. And Lord, I just thank you for all the wisdom that you give us throughout that we can use for our everyday life now. Just because it was back then, I'm grateful that we can use it now. And I ask all this stuff in your name. And please be with all the sick people, and please be with all the ones that need healing touch from you. In your name, we do pray. Amen. Okay, y'all. I had fun just by myself, but it was good times, good stuff. So y'all have a good evening.